All right, we're live once again, and Wilhelm is back.
Woo, we missed you, Wilhelm.
I'm here with my two lovely co-hosts. My name is Trent something, and we also have on the mic Mr.
Lucas Miguel Gusta.
Hey.
We got, since we're using names again, we got Christian, Felix.
Hey, shout out to that. Bring Wilhelm back one more time for the co-host.
For the co-host.
One more.
Yes. Also Eclectic Sage if you want to use my artist name, but I love going by both.
Hey.
All right, so we're gonna kick off this segment with this episode with the segment called "Dreams Be Weird." I want to tell y'all about my dream. Now, this is only a sliver of my dream. All right,
a sliver.
The whole dream has a lot going on in it. There's a date that ends with a sexual encounter. There's a trial. It's all this other weird shit. But I'm going to this is a text that I sent to my friend, and it's gonna be very colloquial. So excuse some of yes. Excuse.
What time did you send this text?
It was early. It was like fresh when I woke up. I was like,
fresh off the week.
Because I had just talked to the homie Chris with the who we have podcast beef with.
Yes.
We were last time I spoke on the phone with him, we were talking about dreams, and I woke up and I was like, he's gonna hear about this one. All right, so here goes. I had a dream. Ja Rule tried to break into the house I was staying in.
No.
He was with a group of 20-year-olds. At first, it was just him. He stood outside the window with the super soaker. He was looking through the glass door and said to me, "This is a nice house. Makes me want to break into it." At that point, I said, "Let me help you." And I opened the glass door. He looked surprised. I then proceeded to beat the living shit out of Ja Rule.
Whoa.
His friends showed up. I stepped back. They were all 20-something frat types. There was about 3 of them. And I left the sliding glass door open and took a step back. I took my belt off, and they came in, and I started swinging my belt and hitting everyone.
Oh my gosh!
Wow.
They retreat, and then a few of my friends showed up, and then more of them showed up, claiming to be peaceful protesters because allegedly when Ja Rule claimed he wanted to break into the house, it was a prank. They all showed up with signs, chanting, whatever, and they all got their asses beat.
Oh.
This is sounding like Everything Everywhere All at Once. If you know that scene, he's just smacking. I can see it smacking people
Very
with a
much
belt.
like that. People were flipping and flying.
I envisioned all of that perfectly.
I woke up. I was like, "What the hell is going on?" But yeah,
He was like, "This is for Firefest."
Where would I be without you?
You got us kept out of tents.
Isn't he's from New York, right? Ja Rule?
I think
Yeah,
so.
he's
I don't
from New
remember.
Okay. What'd you say? I don't think
The
so.
casual, I think so. Who cares? It's Ja Rule.
You know, it's funny. My family, the same way you listeners are like hearing this for the first time. I'm hearing this, so I'm not prepared.
True.
But one of my family members bumped into him in the movie theater
Wow.
over in Jersey.
What was Ja Rule watching?
Was he watching himself? Did he go see?
I hope it's everything everywhere all at once. It was just a prelude for Trent because he's gonna hear this one day.
Yeah, right.
Just be like this one podcast dude just had like fantasies of me hitting him with a belt. Him flipping like a kung fu movie. Like, oh my gosh.
Oh man,
That's hilarious. Wait, so did he say anything in the movie theater?
I think they have a picture together.
Really? Is it like a dark movie theater?
No.
Okay.
This was like in the concession stand in the lobby and everything.
Oh, I was just saying, think how like chaotic that would be. It's like you blurry next to Ja Rule in a movie theater. It's dark. Credits
gosh.
behind. That'd be an insane photo.
Yeah,
But by the concession stand.
Yeah, by the concession stand. Also, this is like random out of the blue, but since we're talking about funny, like weird instances, I was going to the movies the other day, and I randomly bump into like a premiere for Chris Evans' movie, like Ghosted. It's gonna date the podcast, but literally he just was like walking outside, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's Chris Evans!" And we just like randomly bumped into Chris Evans.
Is he tall?
Didn't seem that tall.
He's like 5'3" in person.
No. He's definitely like he's like average height. I would
Ja Rule's
imagine.
pretty short.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Most
You
celebrities
know
you know
via
are
your
short.
dream or what?
Oh no. I was looking down. I was like, you gonna get hit by this belt.
So through that dream, is there any sort of real life connection, or your mind was just spitting?
Oh, I don't know what. Well, with the exception
Were
of
you listening to like Ja Rule or something?
I was not. I haven't heard a Ja Rule song in so long. No, with the exception of the person I went on. The person I went on the date with was the last person.
Wait,
I went
where'd
on
the
a
date
with.
come in though?
It was earlier. Like I told you, it's a long ass dream.
Wait, that
I
wasn't
woke
in
up.
the text though, was it?
Yeah, no.
You read?
That's why I
Okay.
said only a segment. We'd be here all day if I tried to describe the
Dreams
entire
part 2.
dream. Like, yo, it was. I think I woke up 9 times and still ended up in the same dream.
Oh my gosh.
So weird.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
You had a
So-
whole season release.
exactly. Yeah, like it was a binge. It was a binge watch of that dream.
Yeah.
As we were just speaking off mic for all my weed smokers out there, I've been off the kush the last 3 days, in pursuit of dreaming clearly. And I had a dream last night. I was like,
Whoa,
wow,
that's
I'm like
cool.
returning back to like dreaming. It's crazy.
You
It's
remember
been so
anything
long.
from the
I
dream?
do.
Rule
Let
popped
me
up?
tell you, it was pretty fun. It was a good time. So I was lately I've been on like a crazy. This is so weird. I've been on a crazy Harry Potter binge.
Oh yes, I heard you were telling
crazy
me.
Harry Potter binge.
Okay.
Any
Yo, Wizard
listeners?
Harry.
I fuck with y'all if y'all like Harry Potter. My goodness, 30 years old, just tapped into Harry Potter, never read the books, watching the films, and boy, is it a great time. But anyways, I just finished the 4th one.
Oh wow, you're far now.
I'm pretty far. That's like 10 hours of freaking Harry Potter content. But
a lot of Harry
anyways, the dream was very simple. I'm at work. At the time of this recording, I work at. Can I say? Is that fine?
Yeah, you can say.
Okay, yeah, I work at the North Face on 5th Avenue.
Oh no!
And we can bleep if we
They
need
know.
to.
They know your entire
I'm
name.
fully,
No, they know your
I'm
name.
full doxing.
Oh my gosh.
Come and find me. But
Come and
anyways,
oh my gosh.
I was
For anybody else that wants podcast beef,
podcast.
come
week.
find 'em.
I was at work.
Trey
and
got the
then, True.
You're not playing.
True. But no, I met Daniel Radcliffe, and it was really sick. My dream. It was like just super simple, very realistic, and everybody's like swarming him. I'm calling him Harry Potter. I'm like, yo, fuck off, quit calling him Harry Potter. Just leave this man alone. And he and I chopped it up for like what seemed to be 20 minutes, and I was like, dude, I love what you did with Harry Potter. Also, shout out to how versatile you are as an actor in your
Yeah.
career afterwards. Everything
Amazing.
you do is different.
He
And
had that movie
about
where he
it.
was a skinhead and stuff. That movie where he
Really? What was that?
He had to. He was like a spy for some agency, and he had to infiltrate. He had to infiltrate like a racist organization. So he had to like
What?
embrace.
yeah, I
like,
remember that one.
that movie. His
Was it
acting
good?
was phenomenal,
Really?
crazy. It was
Wow.
Shout out to Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah,
Seriously.
amazing.
Seriously. I mean,
Amazing.
he just fucking played Weird Al. Like, what? Like,
What? I
in a
didn't-
biopic about Weird Al. Like,
Oh shit, that's right. He did do that.
how crazy is that?
Hmm.
And then, like, yeah, I mean, everything he does is just so vastly different.
And
And
I think
so
that's
sick.
like a result of being Harry Potter and wanting to get out of that box of Harry Potter.
absolutely. And,
Have
like,
you ever seen Swiss Army Man?
No, I have not.
That
I
is
think-
one of the weirdest, most original movies I've ever seen.
I want to
Like,
say
it's
that was
super
his
fucking
first
crazy.
picture after Harry
It was
Potter.
one of his. at
Okay.
least. Yeah, but yeah, it was pretty.
And that was Paul Dano, too, right? I believe.
I don't remember. It's been so
Okay.
long, but
But yeah, I mean, and also like along with my fascination of just the Harry Potter series has been like just like the production behind it, which was
Oh,
just
yes.
incredibly fascinating. And I mean, dude, they pumped out 8 of these like 2.5-hour movie on average films in 10 years. 8 of them in 10 years. Like,
Yeah,
so
it's really crazy.
I mean, is there any other series that like I mean, not like they grow up in real time? I mean, it's completely fascinating and like just like the production that went into it. I mean, in a brief number flow, there was
the way that they had the directors too.
Oh yeah,
they
switched out
had
of
multiple directors from what I remember.
Yeah, they
I
did,
never
and like
watched
they
them.
all have their own unique take on it, and they build on like the story further and further and further, and they actually progressively get better too. But Anyways, it's also mind blowing that films can generate such revenue. They put $1 billion into it and got like over $7 billion out of the entire franchise, which
Invest
is
in
fucking
your
crazy.
art.
Sheesh, that's one way to do it.
Facts.
But that was my dream. It was sick meeting Daniel Radcliffe in my own mind.
So you didn't fight Daniel Radcliffe in your dreams?
No,
Which
no,
is-
I
okay,
wasn't.
all right.
He didn't try to break.
Give
out
it
the
a
Suicide
couple
Circle,
nights.
so-
You know, you'll get into the weird shit.
I
I
might.
mean,
I might.
I mean, you can't fight Daniel Radcliffe. He'll just pull out like a wand.
What is it? I don't even know what he said. Something.
I don't know.
Xperia or some shit. But
I don't remember none of the spells. I just remember that meme with the dude with the spelling bee, and he has the glasses, and he's like Iridocyclitis. Like that's my knowledge of Harry Potter.
I think you would like them, Christian. I think you ought to check them out. Whenever you have like the
time to
motivation
watch.
to dedicate.
Yeah, I
You're
feel like
you know what?
I feel like I haven't had the motivation. Mind you, I have watched like snippets, and they used to play some of the old ones on TV all the time. And like I remember like as they were releasing, and
See, I don't remember that somehow. That was like my heyday of youth, but I
Really?
don't remember that.
I remember
Like,
them being released.
fandom at the time.
Yeah, my friends love Harry Potter.
Really?
Um,
When I went back to Texas last week, my mom's like, "What the fuck? Like, why are you watching Harry Potter?" Like, 'cause she's like, "You're like 30. What are you doing?" I'm like, "They're fucking
I'm a wizard
good."
now.
Yeah. I'm like, "Look, they're great. All right, that's all I have to say."
just randomly like grab a broomstick and just call it a day.
Just take off.
Are you not
Back
allowed to
New
watch
York I
Harry
go.
Potter after 30?
Yeah.
I don't know,
Play
but
some Quidditch.
The world is
here
so
I am.
cool.
I love them. Yeah, they're fascinating. So I'm and also, dude, they tackle like really really gnarly subjects. Have you watched them, Trent, or no?
I've seen the first two in their entirety, and then I stopped with the third.
Okay.
We should do a
But,
little
like,
series.
dude,
we should watch all of them.
they start
Oh,
to
shit.
tap
That's-
into like
that's
death
intense.
and like, I mean, yeah, just like Harry Potter. Like, dude, I'm not gonna fucking sit here and spill the beans on everything I like about Harry Potter, but just like the heroic nature of who he is. Like I'm not gonna get into it, but just like his just like his heroic nature, but like he was touched by evil, but still he strives to do the best, and he tries to help people at all costs. It doesn't matter whether he wins or loses. Like, as long as he helps people, he's willing to put his own life on the line.
That's very noble.
Yeah, I
time
remember
in,
that part.
time out. Like, it's incredibly admirable, and he's so wise. And I mean, obviously this is a fictional story, but just like the attributes that he possesses is just something that like you can kind of transfer into the real world and like put into your own practice or what have you. But anyways, yeah, that was my dream. It was kind of a weird one. I'm not gonna say it was as crazy as Ja Rule. Beat down doors.
That
with
beat the
Super
cake.
Soaker.
That beat the
Yeah.
cake. that
Took the
takes the cake.
That was
That beat the cake. Yo, that's a new
That's
expression.
it.
I'm going to start using that. Well, that one beats the cake. I love
beat
it.
the
but
I love
you know,
that.
I guess coincidentally, talking about the
Old
heyday
baby.
of our youth, I'd have to say that ties into our topic of today, huh? Episode
Yes.
8.
Episode 8. Nostalgia. Ooh.
Whoa, it
Ooh.
rings sweet to each
It
and every
does.
ear.
What we
It
have is
does.
nostalgia.
Nostalgia. Is this another Jules from the X?
It is
Shout
a
out?
Jules from the X shout out.
Shout out the Jules.
Shout out Jules from the X.
I love that man.
Oh, shit.
Hey!
I'm
Shout out.
gonna send him this episode,
Yeah.
and then he's gonna be like, "Oh wow, you guys talking about me?"
Hey!
Shout
I
out
like that
X.
one.
I didn't even know we had that.
Yeah,
we got a bunch of stuff. It's
Whoa.
just you got to flip through it. And
Oh,
I don't
okay.
want to like spend my time
Yeah.
trying to be more present.
Somebody somebody was like, nostalgia, what's that? And I'm like, well, shit, what is nostalgia by definition?
Oh,
So
you got it. Okay.
let's see. Nostalgia by definition, a sentimental longing or wistful affection for the past, typically for a period or place with happy personal associations.
Yes.
Wow.
Very, very near and dear. Is everybody nostalgic?
There.
Maybe not.
I feel like
What does that mean? Is everyone nostalgic? Describe a
Does
nostalgic
everybody have that same like deep sense of nostalgia to some degree?
I think everyone experiences at some point,
Okay.
possibly.
Okay.
yeah, I feel like we live in a culture of nostalgia.
Definitely.
Really?
And I was reading something. Well, I was listening to a lot of different things lately. the listeners may not know, but we all take like photography. But lately, I've been diving like really, really deep into taking pictures, like going to events and just constantly being out. And I've been looking at like the ethics and other photographers throughout history, and just trying to understand the history and the origins of what it means to like be an image, and basically like capturing a moment. And nostalgia is in a sense just reminiscing on a past and wanting to go back to it, but knowing that you can't, and that it's like a melancholy. It's not a happy feeling, nostalgia, per se. It's like
Really, I think it's pretty happy.
it's like a bittersweet feeling. It's like
I think there's sweetness in between knowing that you can't go back, but knowing that it happened.
yeah, it's like a weird tension that kind of like permeates, and yeah, it stems from like a lot of the eras in terms of like we have a lot of people are like, oh yeah, we have to like progress forward with like technology and stuff, but like that concept is kind of it's kind of new for like human beings to be like, oh yeah, we're gonna in the 80s they dressed like this, they acted like this is the time, and we kind of cement that as a thing, and then it's just like, oh yeah, they're being nostalgic for that time. Then the 90s is this type of thing, then the 2000s is this type of thing. Back then people just like lived just to live, and it's
Yeah.
kind of hard to see that as a modern person. But yeah, there's a lot of like philosophical theories that talk about nostalgia and how it kind of interweaves with the current, especially in the internet age with so many images present, that we could look at catalogs of time and reintroduce styles or reintroduce things to create specific effects. So even like music videos now have like a lot of vintage filters and films and everything. But yeah, what do you guys think about nostalgia?
Man, I'm such a nostalgia driven person. Like for real. Like I might be one of the most like sentimental towards like the the yesteryear of my youth that
And even
yeah,
like,
it just rings so near and dear to me.
I was gonna say, yeah, and even I see as an observation, like you go beyond your youth and you go farther back to like James Dean and everything.
It's true. Yeah. I'm I really I question myself on that sometimes, like what it is about. I suppose fundamentally maybe someone should look more forward than backward in the vision of their life, but for whatever reason I always gravitate back towards the past. And that's not necessarily, I mean, it's for good things and bad things, I will admit, but for like things that really speak or spark my interest, it usually like ties into like things that have happened. But again, I'm always kind of thinking, I'm like, wait, should I be looking more towards the future and like things that are to come versus like things that have happened? Because all in all, there's nothing very tangible about the past besides like the relics that once remained. But I do also separate my interest from like my own personal experiences, in which, I mean, yeah, definitely, like, I mean, there's a number of things in the past. I've been like studying the Beatles for like the last 2-3 weeks, just out of like sheer curiosity and like all the documentation there is of them, and I find it incredibly interesting, yada yada. But for my own personal I guess emotional attachments, yeah, like I'm really a nostalgia driven person. I mean, living in New York City, originally from Dallas, Texas, Louisville, Texas, to be specific. I'm getting real personal.
Oh my
out here.
goodness.
Yeah,
But yeah, every time I go back, it's just so, I don't know. Like I just like every nook and cranny of the city that I'm from. I'm like, wow, I remember exactly what happened here at this time. Or, not necessarily at this time, but like every nook and cranny. Like you could drop me off anywhere in that city blindfold, and I could get back home. But I'm not sure what it is about like those times of the past, but like they always just make me feel so good, and just like so reflective of like, I guess, where I come from and like kind of where I'm going. I mean, I do all the kind of like classic shit. Like I'll like go on my high school football field at like 3 a.m. and just like, it's so quiet. I'm like, wow, I remember like coming out here back in the day and like going to school here, all the girls I dated, all the like good times I had. Like, and I really don't know why. And that's why I'm also like inquisitive. I'm like, wait, does everybody feel like this? Or is it just like, do I have more of a gravitational pull towards that than others.
I feel like that's a pretty universal feeling. What do you feel, Trent?
I think with some people, well, specifically high school, because a lot of people had shitty experiences in high school.
How was your high school experience?
High school experience is okay.
Okay.
I think by like junior year, I was just ready to graduate, but I had some good times. I'm not
Really?
gonna,
Okay.
my shit wasn't shitty, but there was other things I was longing for that I never got the chance to do. Like
Like what?
Like what?
Well,
Prom or some shit or what?
no, hell
Don't tell me you
Okay.
skipped it.
no, I did skip prom.
Oh.
I was one of those people.
people.
You know what's crazy?
Christian, you went to prom?
I did go, but
I didn't see these
off the
photos.
Yo,
shores.
photos.
Oh my god, mine are so bad that like maybe we can make that like the episode photo.
Yo, I've got bad photos.
Is-
Oh, man.
Straight
Oh
up.
my god,
I
y'all
was
would
bald.
fucking flame me if you saw.
yeah,
I
you
did
showed me the
I didn't have no hair. Like listeners.
Christian says this with a complete blank expression on his
Yeah,
face.
no, I
too.
had no hair, but I love my photo from my prom because
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna
my-
show y'all mine.
yeah, my dad drove us. It was me, my friend, shout out Thomas, and my friend Michael, and we were early for prom, so they had to add like this country club thing, which was like really cool. I'd never even been to the side of the. I don't even think it was the Bronx. It was like outside, like upstate a little bit, like upstate meaning like Yonkers or something. It was like
Yeah.
I don't know. New Yorkers call everything upstate outside the city. But yeah, it was like this country club thing, and we came early, and we had a bunch of free time, and we just kept on. There were multiple venue spots, and so my dad just acted clueless and was like, "Is this the VIP club thing?" Because the thing the title of the venue was the VIP club, so we just drove to places to get pictures at every venue. We're like, is this a VIP club? And they're like, no. Can we take pictures? Yeah, sure, whatever. And I was just like, yeah, is this a VIP club? So we just kept like going around. Is this a VIP club? And we're
Nice.
just joking around. And then we pull up and we get to the actual VIP club, and they actually snap a picture of all three of us in the back seat.
The boys.
All three of the boys in the back seat, and it's one of the coolest photos like of me there.
Hey.
So question as it relates to nostalgia, because one of the reasons I skipped was I never bought into the idea of like the high school years being like the peak of your life, being the best, like that. I don't know, that always annoyed me.
Yeah.
Because I don't like the idea of someone else deciding what the best years of my life was. When you look back at it, with all the hype and everything around moments like that, you know, in high school, did those moments live up to it? Do you feel like looking back, those are actually as important as people like to play them?
I would say briefly that I think you have very little referential basis to say anything else when you're that young.
Yeah,
so
that's
I think
true.
that it is like, oh my god, this is the best day of my life. Like, you know what
But
I
you've
mean?
only lived 20 minutes, you know, so
Yeah.
of course it is.
But that's my immediate hot take. But Christian,
I was gonna say, for my high school career personally, just the way that like things were set up at the time, I tried like to make the most out of my school career for high school.
were you like aware of that notion of this is the best?
Yeah,
of your
but I
life,
didn't
whatever?
buy into it. I felt similar to Trent. Like these are not like the best years of my life. These are just really difficult. But then as I got older, especially now, I think my current like standing is like every day is like the best day ever. Kind of just like
I
type
like
of
that.
type of optimism, and yes, I could look at the past and like be nostalgic for it. But yeah, making the best out of like what you have makes it so that that you have like no regrets in terms of like actually living a full life. And yeah, so being able to look back in like high school, I could look at good times and bad times and just say as an amalgamation, it just contributed to life. It wasn't anything better than now, but it definitely had its fun moments, and I look at it like fondly.
I was gonna say I actually didn't answer the question. I kind of my views. What was the question? What are my thoughts or views on nostalgia?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that, of course, I'm a photographer, so I obsess over moments all the time. But I think that there has to be a balance with it.
Yes.
So I think it can be good. Like you say, we do live in a nostalgia state. But also you have to be careful because it's so easy to look back on something that doesn't exist, something that you're not experiencing in the moment, and romanticize it. And it could, it could be when you're living in that moment, it can be the worst thing ever. But you look back on it and you realize, maybe that those problems were temporary, and you may treat it like it was the best thing ever. You may only look at the highlights. And immediately when I was at home thinking about this subject, I thought about breakups. So in the majority of my breakups, getting out of those relationships, there's this initial vulnerable period where there's a high possibility of me getting back with the whatever woman I was dating because the way my brain works, I start to miss those things that were good. And I have to kind of stop myself and remember, there was a reason for this breakup. There are things that need to be done before you can
Make amends
even
and
consider getting back with that person. And there's some work that needs to be done, And then after time, it's like, okay, I realize it was best not to get back with that person because of, all the things that transpired and all the work that needs to be done, not only from that, but even, before that on both sides, So you gotta be careful with that. And he said something, I lost my thought because I started thinking about breakups. You said something interesting that I wrote down.
Do you look back on those fondly now by this point in time of the breakups and everything?
I mean, yeah, I tend to be, even though I'm a little bit pessimistic, that's what I was going to talk about. I tend to see, I'm one of those people that tend to see the good in everything. But I do, like I said, I do add some gravity to that and do acknowledge the bad. But even when I look at people, I try to see the best parts of it. Because I think if I sat around thinking about the worst parts, I think I'd go crazy. But
Yeah.
no, going back to living into in a nostalgia age, I was watching this. A question popped up because I see my immediate experiences with nostalgia. The first thing I think of is media, movies, television shows, and I was watching this movie called Black Phone. I don't know if you guys seen it. It takes
Ethan
place.
Hawke?
Yes.
Okay, yep.
Oh yes, I know. What you're
Like
saying.
in the what is it, the 70s, I believe.
I'm not sure. I haven't seen
Like
it.
the
I remember
it
the
takes-
ads, though.
Yeah, it takes place in the 60s and 70s, and
Wait, you were just watching this randomly?
so
I
heard
would
it was
not
fire
take you
movie.
as a guy to just pick up a horror flick and start.
yeah, I started part of my peaceful practices that I told you off mic
Is watching
was
horror movies.
no, not necessarily horror
Can you please
movies.
explain what peaceful practices?
So
I
my-
thought it was a beautiful insight.
Yes.
My peaceful practices are things that I started doing to help me become a more peaceful person, a more mindful person, and overall to be more, I want to say still, that's the word, but be more calm,
I
not
feel
give
that.
in to stress. And I've started doing different things. One of them is when I get off of work, I download movies from Amazon and I start watching them on the train, like in segments. I'll watch like 20-minute
fun.
train ride. I'll watch little,
okay,
and I
that's
go
good.
back and forth between movies I've seen. Like first I'll watch something I've seen, then I'll watch something I haven't seen. And the movie that I hadn't seen was Black Phone, and it was a period piece. And I was like questioning myself. I was like, what's the difference between, something that's nostalgia driven and a period piece?
Yeah.
So period pieces are, I think the biggest differences are they're set in that period, but they don't go out of their way to highlight certain
like
things,
glamorize it almost.
or where you have something like Stranger Things, which is it's
That's
a good
an
show,
amazing show to
but
point
it's-
out for nostalgia.
yeah, but it's a very nostalgia driven. It's a lot of things. Do you remember this product? Do
Yeah.
you remember this song? And it goes out of its way to highlight those things. All for the sake of consumerism, and that's not to say that there wasn't work put into the story and everything, but Netflix has a big machine behind it.
And so
I
that's
think-
as compared to Black Hawk, which is
Black
more-
Phone,
or excuse
Black
me,
Hawk,
Black Hawk Down.
Ethan Black.
Oh my God!
No. Yeah. So
Title of
the
the
Black
episode.
Phone was very much a like I was listening to someone talk about it who lived through that period, and they were like, "Wow, like it's really amazing." Like I felt like I was there, but there's never a point where it's like you hear any, music playing. Like every now and then you'll get like TV in the background where somebody's watching the show, but for the most part, a lot of the components really lend itself more to the story as opposed to, trying to be a nostalgia vehicle is how I phrased it. Much like
Yeah.
Stranger Things.
Yeah, and I feel like to get back to just overall nostalgia and everything as it permeates media. I feel like there's definitely distinctions between that, but I feel like a lot of these pieces reintroduce new information to an environment. Like for instance, if you take, I don't know, just like movies from that are period pieces, like let's say, I'm trying to think of a movie that's like really potent that you've just seen.
For
Like,
nostalgia.
yeah, for nostalgia.
I mean, yeah, Stranger Things was pretty good.
Stranger
Maybe,
Things.
like-
I was gonna use that one.
like,
I was like,
are they aiming for nostalgia, or it's naturally nostalgic because you look back on it?
naturally nostalgic, but even like the earliest movies kind of tie back to like, oh yeah, this is like slave era, like antebellum South type of thing, and a lot of it deals with that type of profound
Damn,
nostalgia.
I didn't even think about
Yeah,
that.
like-
yo, that
Like,
damn.
like nostalgia is
What? Think about what?
Like the idea of nostalgia as it relates to racism, and because a lot of people, especially in this Trump era, they wanna romanticize those times, and those are the good old days.
Yeah, because
like
even as we move forward in time, a lot of like rituals. There was a philosopher who talked about like rituals being inherent to like human culture, and due to like the diminishing presence of like religion being like the full focus, is more like religion is just like something that you can participate in, but it's not like the fulcrum of society. Like, I don't know, a dinner bell doesn't hit like and you say like an evening prayer every day. It's just
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's not like that. But yeah, those the removal of like religion being the fulcrum of like how everything kind of functions, people still need like rituals and stuff to kind of go through. So then they pick like
yeah.
different things that they go through. Like, let's say you go to movies every Friday, or you go to like this type of thing, just so that you have like a routine, because human beings like routine.
Yes,
And
they do.
yeah, a lot of this in terms of how that relates to nostalgia, there's like even like places that do like antebellum parties, and they do like these things that are nostalgic towards like eras that have passed and everything, and that informs the future that they see, like, oh yeah, this is just some ritual that we do, while also like keeping and maintaining some of like the worst parts of like our personal history. But I feel like the United States culturally was the United States had like a big cultural export, and that was like our main thing. Like, oh yeah, we make
Big time.
movies, we make
Yeah.
this type of thing, and then that informs how we do it. So I feel like nowadays, with so many issues and so many things going on, and with the internet kind of factionalizing and making everyone like go into bubbles, the idea, they have like a theory called like the monoculture. I kind of talked about it before, but it's basically like you have 80s, and then this is a certain aesthetic. 90s, that's a certain aesthetic, and we have a shared cultural acceptance of that aesthetic. But like nowadays, it's because like the internet kind of factionalized everything. It's just like,
Yeah.
even when you send a friend a meme, it's just like, what corner of the internet are you on?
yeah.
Yeah.
It's true.
So it's no longer like a monoculture that we agree on. It's multiple subcultures.
Yeah.
And
When
like,
did the monoculture dissipate?
some are saying like around the end of the introduction of like the smartphone ish kind of going on.
Yeah.
But a lot of our nostalgia comes from like technology, in the sense that like it's the modern, I guess the modernist sentiment that you have to progress forward in time and reach kind of like a utopic society with like that's like technologically focused in some regards. That was like the some of the origins of modernism, in terms of like you have like Marxist philosophers, or you have other types of philosophers that are just like, how do we create a society that's good and like functional and perfectly works? And that kind of goes into like utopia literature, like Looking Backwards by Edward Bellamy and all that type of stuff. And then you go forward, and then you have postmodernism, which is like when the nuclear bomb kind of drops, and then from there, you have like people looking at technology as like we could destroy ourselves at any time. And then you have like it showing up in media like South Park, Simpsons, and stuff as just like making jokes about the grand narrative of there being progress or there being something larger. And then this is to pair with now, which like there's an article that I want to link when we post this, but it's an article about like metamodernism, and it talks about how now it's kind of like looking at the irony of like modernism, but it's a newfound sincerity. So I say that it's kind of similar to absurdist literature, but to break it down, basically it's just looking at like the current state of things, like climate crisis, this type of thing, just got out of a pandemic or whatever, and it's just like we got out of this, we looked at it, and but we're still pushing on, we're still making meaning, we're still making time for mindfulness, like we're still making this type of thing, and nostalgia kind of bakes into that because it's reminiscing on past times, but like you said, rejoicing in the fact that like it happened. And I feel like that's a lot of the origins of nostalgia.
Yeah, no, technology is an extremely big factor. I remember when YouTube first hit the scene.
Dude, I think I remember the 2006.
Yeah, it was like mid 2000s, and I remember just like going on a kick and looking up all these old shows I used to watch as a kid that I couldn't find anymore because they were gone. Like that's the one thing about, because I've lived in the 90s, and even I'm like the oldest person here. I've lived in the 80s some, but I really don't remember the fucking 80s. But yeah, and I remember like you know, watching a television show or watching advertisements for shows, and you had to catch it at that time.
Yeah.
And if you didn't catch it, you had to catch it at the rerun time, or you'd have to wait for like a rerun like in the summer or something. It was no instant playback. There was no TiVo or none of these other things that you can immediately rewind. Like, and I think that's also technology in that sense is also kind of, I don't want to say destroyed, but helped like diminish our ability to be present, because when you were there, you had to pay attention. You couldn't be looking at something else, because once it happened, for the most part, that was it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's crazy to me. But no, but yeah, YouTube I was looking up, and I remember watching like all these episodes of the Power Rangers, and it's crazy to think like how that's flourished since then. And now like we can just go back to anything on an instant. It's like, yo, did you see that thing that happened last night? No. Oh, hey, I sent it to you. It's like, there it is.
Just like that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's, I don't know. It's insane.
Wow.
And I mean, I think that's what, I think that's where part of nostalgia comes in too. It's like we, you know, a lot of, our hearts and our minds are kind of beckoning for a time where everything wasn't as easily accessible, and you had to be mindful and you had to be present, you know, because I think a lot of that is lost. Because I had to, like I was telling you guys off mic, you know, I was at a picnic, and a lot of people's default, you know, when the conversation stopped, is pull out your phone.
Oh yeah,
you know, check and see. That's where I had to kind of check myself. And I try to check myself every now and then doing that. And it's also weird too. There was a quote, I don't remember it verbatim, but it's talking about how you don't really realize a moment is special until the moment is over.
Yeah.
And that's also become part of my peaceful practices too. I try to recognize a moment when I'm in it And even if it won't be a moment, I try to treat it as a moment, you know, because it could be special. Like right now, like, you know, this is really dark, but, you know, one of us can step out and, you know, get hit by an A train, you know, and then this will be, we can run into Ja Rule and
Yeah.
just like, I heard what you said. I heard your little podcast, you know, and that could be the end of us, you know. You don't know how dangerous Ja Rule is. He's out here in these streets, still
doubt
hurting
it.
from what 50 said about him. Anyway.
Oh, we may have to cut that out.
But I mean, you know, anyway, and then by default, this moment would be special because this would be, you know, the last moment we'd had with all three of us together, you know.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of my pushback to this current era. But I mean, I think it's also it's also a good way to be mindful, and it's a good way to live, you know, acknowledging people and staying present, you know.
It's
But-
it's
I
a good
agree
way
with
of
that.
relating and forming bonds with people, because when you have shared moments or shared experience, it makes you feel like closer to somebody. Like they live close to our experience overall.
No, yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah, it's kind of interesting how that happens, but yeah, whenever you're with people more so than not, I mean, that's part of like whenever I go back home, you know, I see all these places and these locations, and I'm like, wow, I remember when I was with this person, that person, and yeah, it just rings that much more true overall. So
Which part,
absolutely.
since you guys are a little bit older than me, just a little bit, not much. What part of your life do you feel most nostalgic about?
I would
Yeah, that's
say, I mean, immediately probably like 12 to like 16. That was a pretty good time.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess again, now that I think of it, it was because I didn't have much like reference of anything else. But
Yeah.
I mean, life was like generally simple. It was pretty easy across the board. And not that it's about being or I mean, simplicity is definitely a beautiful aspect of life, but not necessarily easy. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just like you don't really have any financial problems. This is actually something I was telling my cousin when he was in town, but it's like everybody is on the exact same playing field whenever you're that age. Like, it's not about who has the nicer car, who has the better job, who has the most money, who moved where. It's not anything about that. It's just like you're only concerned with your immediate surroundings. And also that was a slightly different time when, I mean, cell phones were around, but not nearly as prevalent with like social media and all that. So I think that naturally there's just like a little bit more of like a immediate presence to everything. And I mean, also you still have, I mean, you really had, it's kind of interesting to think about, but you had everybody in your life that like you had ever known, so to speak. Like you had, I mean, I've lost my grandparents now, so they're no longer here, but like, you know, you had them. My parents are late 30s, early 40s, so they were still in their youth essentially. Yeah, and I mean, you kind of just have like every tidbit of what you need. So yeah, I mean, that, I guess that would be my explanation as to why that time in particular. But yeah, and I mean, just like what was on TV and shit. Of course, everybody's a little bit more biased as to the era they grew up in, but Cartoon Network and whatnot was certainly
Amazing.
hitting back then.
Throwback.
You know, Dexter's Laboratory,
Dexter's
so on and so forth.
Laboratory.
It's crazy that
You
all all three of us have nostalgic feelings towards that show.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
we watched it
absolutely.
at different times.
But
Yeah.
what about you? What?
For me, I feel like I'm nostalgic in pieces. So
Okay.
I'll explain that. So lately, I have been on an old movie kick. So
Nice.
yes, I
Watch Rebel, you fraud.
I've been trying. I've been trying.
fraud.
I've been trying. I
Just
swear.
kidding.
Do or do not. There is no try.
Yeah.
Oh.
Shouts
Every
out to
time
Yoda.
Every time I start, I get to like the scene where they're in the prison and she's just crying.
That's
and then
like 4 minutes in.
4 minutes in, and I just
Okay.
can't
You hear the mic drop. I'm out.
So I make it to opening credits, right? And
But no.
James Dean just like getting lifted up off the thing. Like
So,
But-
in parts, old
Yes.
movies. That's interesting.
yeah, so I feel like we touched upon this, but you can be nostalgic for times that you have not lived in.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
one of my favorite movies that I recently watched or I watched within like the last year or two, that sticks with me all the time was one, Bicycle Thieves. So I was watching the show Master of None. They did a callback reference. I watched a YouTube video. They said this is the original movie. I watched the original movie. Beautiful and tragic movie. It's basically this kid and his son. He goes out and they're trying to.
What's the name of the movie?
Bicycle Thieves.
Bicycle
This
Thieves.
is like Italian film, 40s, like I think post-war, very impoverished, or like post-war, very impoverished. So this guy, he's trying to find some financial thing. We love the city.
Yo, I'm not gonna lie. Earlier when the bus like
Yeah,
you
that
heard
was so funny.
The brakes creaking, I got nostalgic. Like that reminds me of my childhood so much because I caught
Really?
the bus a lot. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah,
Wow.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go on.
See,
young
like
sage.
little like triggers and stuff. But yeah, so this man, he's looking for a job. His family spends all his wife says, "I've spent the savings on a bike to get us a thing." So he gets the bike, goes to work. Then his bicycle gets stolen out in the plaza, and then it's him and his son looking for the bicycle. And I guess I'll spoil this one. It is a old movie.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. You should still watch it anyways. But the tragedy is like he's looking for his bicycle and he ends up becoming a thief himself. And as he steals the bicycle, and then you just see the innocence of his kid's face like lose his eye, like he believed in his father so much because he's trying to do a noble thing and trying to reclaim his bike and then going all around Italy. But at the end of the day, he saw and witnessed his father become a thief himself. And that one was a really good one. That was just a good story. I implore everyone to watch it.
So,
But I was gonna say this has no relevance to my era. Admittedly, the story is universal, but just me seeking out some black and white film, and just wanting to exist in a period piece, like you're saying, like a time, it creates like a weird feeling of like I wish I was there, and that's another aspect of nostalgia too.
yeah, I can see that.
So what is it that stuck with you about that movie?
One, just the way that it was shot. The way that it was, I always look at the way that things are shot now, in cinematography, and the way that things are visually told to you. And also just the sentimentality, because I felt like really, really for the person. Like the whole movie, it was a very melancholic and sad experience. But yeah, that's one movie. Casablanca was another movie. That one's a beautiful, like, romantic movie.
Definitely heard you mention that one.
Yeah, I watched that one. I really need to watch it again. The cool thing about old movies is that they didn't have cliches to pair from. It's kind of like you're in high school. Like, you have no reference.
Yeah.
So we're at an era where, like, movies have been out for, like, almost 100-something years. Like, movies have been around for so long. So they have, like, a formula to them to make
a lot of tropes.
Yeah, a lot of tropes to, like, if you want to make the most, like, bang for your buck in terms of making a movie and getting returns, which is kind of like the marketplace of movies right now.
Yeah, you gotta follow the act structure. You gotta do this. You gotta do that.
Yeah, and back then they didn't have that, so they just had like some twists and turns don't even sync up with now, which is really cool because like you could find something novel in the old, which is
that is true.
Which is I think also another aspect of nostalgia. But yeah, I say in pieces because one, you could be nostalgic for times where you're not a part of. So like I was nostalgic for that era and wanting to be in the era, knowing for a fact in that era for my identity it was not a good time. I am a man with like freeform locks, like a goatee, like it's not for me. Like that, like Casablanca would not happen for me. Like it was not. It was more callbacks to Antipolo himself for me. I'm not but nostalgic in pieces. So you have times where you're like nostalgic for in your own life. You have times where you're nostalgic for times where you wish you existed in. And then it's nostalgic just for just in relation to like pictures and everything. And just and just like media generally, like cartoons, TV shows, and just like looking at it or looking at the present moment and seeing it as something that needs to be captured too. And like I said, like with photography, you have to capture moments, and like the ethics of it is like it's like I was listening to like the work of Susan Sontag, and she's like a writer and like cultural critic. Shout out to Philosophize This. I listened to like all his episodes on the podcast.
Yeah, that's what
What
you
was
sent
his
us.
name? Stephen.
Stephen West.
Shout out to Stephen West.
Yeah,
Stephen
shout out to
West.
him. Very, very inspirational. But he covers like different philosophies and topics from different people, and then I tend to read their work when I have time. But Susan Sontag was a critic, and she talked about like the culture of nostalgia and what the image does to a person and memory and all that. And one of the main takeaways was one of her critiques was how people of the modern era look as are kind of like archivists in the sense that they have to live a moment but capture it as well, and that capturing a moment and not letting it being lost to the ether kind of diminishes the moment for her. What do you guys feel about that?
That's understandable.
Yeah.
I know for a while, especially after school, a lot of people would question me, but I got tired of being like the photographer, so I wouldn't take my camera everywhere. So I
Yeah.
can be present, because I don't want to be the person taking the picture of the moment. I want it to be in the moment, you
Yeah.
know? Like, because it kind of,
The camera creates
it
distance.
creates a separation. You know, you have to stand behind it to take. And of course, you can do selfies and everything, but that's still, I don't know, it still creates a weirdness. So I get what she's saying.
Yeah, I mean,
with
it's
that.
like yeah, it creates a distance, but then it's kind of a double-edged sword because it also creates the bridge, you know, back for that moment
Absolutely.
at a
Yeah.
later time. But I mean, being off Instagram for almost like 2 months now, that's definitely something that I've been kind of mindful of. Is I'm like, oh yeah, like it's kind of nice. I mean, when I see something funny or like worth capturing, you know, I'll pull out my phone real quick. But
Yeah, your pictures are amazing. They're so fun. I'm like, how did she catch that strange thing happening?
That's the best. I love the like little odd nuances of like, especially New York City. I mean, of course, there's a million
There's
things
so
to
much to
capture.
photograph. Shout out Subway Creatures if you follow that Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
That thing is so.
That shit is like New York. Like, that's the weirdest part of New York.
MTA
That-
episode coming in hot.
That is how we feel about New York. Like, if you want to see New York, not like the pristine, like, oh my gosh, look at this secret, like,
Yeah.
speakeasy that's behind this rock. Like,
Yeah,
no,
no
look
hit-
at this dude that's behind this rock. Like, look at his,
No
he has-
hipster gentrified shit. This is real shit.
yeah, like, he has an ostrich. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Yo, I think I saw on there one time somebody was in the subway getting laying on a table getting a booty tattoo.
Yeah, that was so fun.
That
I
shit
remember.
was wild.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you get a butt tattoo in a subway
That
station?
shit must have been like, yeah, real bumpy in completion.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. It was on the platform.
Yeah, it was on the
Oh,
platform.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
that was
it
like
was-
on the train.
It was.
Okay.
It was just like it was so weird. It was like a table, and then he was just laying flat.
Yeah.
You just see the needle, and then the platform doors open, and you hear ding ding, and then you just hear like, and you're just like, "Eh," and I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah, like I don't know, like where I don't know. Out of all of God's creatures, how did two of them come together and be like, you know what, yo, L Train, Jefferson, like meet me there.
Maybe they just
I'll
didn't
bring-
have any time, and
I'll
they had
bring my
to.
shit.
All right, we have to do it here because
Oh.
I gotta be at my girl's house at 7. Otherwise, she's gonna hit me upside the head with a
I want her
shoe.
to see this.
Crazy.
I need a icebreaker.
Maybe, oh man. But so what about for like individual, like whether it be like a knickknack or like obviously movies or locations, what are there any like individual little pieces of nostalgia that ring true to y'all, whether it be a Game Boy SP or a
Oh, yeah, when you look
a
at-
certain film or anything like that, any big notables for y'all?
There's so many things. Just like when you ask that the question of like what period are we most nostalgia for?
Uh-huh.
It's hard. It would be hard for me to pick a period. I can name some, but
Okay.
I can't. I couldn't just pick one. But with
Well,
the-
yeah, name fire a few off.
Yeah.
I would say my college years are definitely something I remember fondly. I mean, if I'm looking at the reality of the situation, those were hard, lonely times. I was working a job. I
where we
was
met. Shout
constantly,
out.
yep. Shout out to
College is
the
tough.
Oakmont Country Club. Yeah, I was a full time student trying to work and then constantly having car problems. And just it was a very, and I broke up with my ex. It was a very lonely experience, but I pushed through and I blossomed and I learned a lot about myself and I made friends and it was just, I recognized that it's not a time that I'll ever get back. Like so many different elements in there that happen, so many special moments. Like I remember being on campus one time. I was walking to the library to edit some photos, and then there was just like this group of black people standing around, but it was a fucking cipher. And I was like, yo.
Shout out to Cyphers.
So I had my camera on me. I pulled out my camera, and it was something that they did like every Wednesday. They would meet in like random spots, and they would have like it was a rap thing / poetry thing.
Yes.
But the vibe was so fucking good there. Like it was like when you walked there, when you walked into it, it was like, yo, this is like the essence of hip hop right here. Like this is
Damn, that's
that
sick.
on the ground shit. Like it was so dope. And I started attending those like regularly just off chance. So
Oh wow.
random shit like that happening during the college years. Like it was so crazy and unpredictable. Oh, another story.
I feel like
Yo.
as a quick comment before you start your next story, I feel like nostalgia hits the most when you experience a novel experience for the first time. Like a novel experience, something you experience only for the first time, and it just sticks, and it's just something that your brain can go back to.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I was, once again, it was late at night. I was walking to the library, of course, because I was always going to the library because their computers were much faster than mine. I could edit, I can upload videos, do all that stuff. And I was in the parking lot and I'm walking and there's this brand new iPhone just laying in the middle of the parking lot. So I'm like, okay, I'll take it to
What year generation is this? iPhone?
I don't remember because I don't have an iPhone, but this was like
man, you're
whatever
gonna get hate.
iPhone was.
You're like green text strike.
Yeah.
Green text strike.
You're gonna get those green texts from me, but they'll be texts of value, so
There we
it'll
go.
make up for it. No, so
I'ma
this
steal
was
that.
this was like 2012, I think, maybe 2013, whatever iPhone was new.
Okay.
And it had like the little like a little Gucci case or whatever. So I pick it up. I was like, okay, maybe there's a name I could call to return the phone. If not, I'll just, I'll turn it into the campus security, whatever. As soon as I pick it up, it starts ringing, right?
Whoa.
And the picture, I think the name was like Brittany or Ashley, something very and then the picture was a pair of breasts.
What?
Yes. And then so I answered it and I'm like, hello? Oh my God, you found the phone. Thank you so much. Oh my God, I'm so grateful. Where are you? And I tell them, I'm at the UNT campus parking lot, to the library or whatever. I was like, oh my God, I'm on my way. I'll be there in 10 minutes. Oh my God, thank you so much. So so about 5 minutes later, this like almost like a this big body older car pulls up and a black guy gets out and the white girl who obviously those were her ditties, her breasts. and he barely says 2 words. He's like, yeah, thank you, man. But she's like, oh my God, I am so grateful. Thank you so much for finding that phone. She's like, do you want to see some titties? And before I get a chance to answer, she's like, fuck that shit. You deserve to see some titties. And she lifts her shirt up and I see the same pair of breasts that are on the phone.
I'm crying.
And I'm just standing there, mouth agape. And they get back in the car and drive off to the night. And I'm standing in the middle of the parking lot like, what the fuck just happened?
What?
Yeah, that was so random.
I guess
What?
you picking up the phone was foreshadowing. I'm just
That's insane.
That was really random. But
If you
I mean,
had to put a somewhat of an accurate guess out, where were they going? Where were they driving to in the night?
wow. I mean, the man had his priorities straight. I
Yeah.
mean, he had the picture as the profile pic. That's crazy. too.
Yeah,
Wait,
like
but
he
wasn't that
did-
her phone?
no, that
No,
was his phone.
Oh,
that was his phone.
That was his
Okay.
phone.
And
That
she was in there as
Chico.
whatever, and her profile picture was bare titties. Like You know?
Wow.
I don't know. That was so weird. I don't know what their relationship. Maybe
Accurate.
he was a pimp. Whatever. It's not my business. But
Shout out to them.
shout out to random
Flashers.
two strangers,
guy-
the flasher and
The guy was just
possible boyfriend, or
Yeah.
I don't know. But but I mean, that's like, I immediately think about stuff like that when I think about the college years. There's even a song in my head that immediately goes to that. It's the Smashing Pumpkins. Is it 1979?
76, I think. 1976.
1976.
Maybe 1979. I think you could be right.
I always get, because I'm terrible with numbers, but I
Uh-huh.
always get it mixed up. But that song, and let me look it up real quick, because it's
Why that song? Was it like when you
I don't
just
know.
struck a
It just
chord?
has that sort of. Hold on, I wanna get it right.
Ooh, what nostalgia?
It was 1979.
1979.
I don't know. Like, that song just has such a nostalgic feel to it. It's got that.
It does.
Those like airy vocals, dun, 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 and it's like coming in the back. Like, that's like pure. That song is pure nostalgia, and that's what immediately, when I think about that time period in my life, I think about that song, and like all these memories come flooding back. You know?
Wow.
I mean, the good ones and the bad ones, but
Yeah.
and the strange ones. You
Yeah,
know,
and the
random
strange-
titties.
I was
And the
gonna say,
tits.
I feel like I want to do an episode just like on music, but music and memory, like I feel like music just better than a photo.
Most
Because-
definitely.
Wow.
I think
From a photographer, that's a big stage.
Well, I'm a photographer slash
And
musician.
he's a
I feel like
musician. Ooh,
I don't know,
the
see,
music
I-
side
I-
is beating the photography
See, I
side.
think the music, because photography captures something that your mind can understand. Music captures something that your soul can understand. And I feel like your soul just is still, whenever you play a song, whether it's the first time, the last time, the like forever last time, like the permanent, like last time you'll ever hear the song ever again. Yeah, your soul has seen whatever's going on and whatever is happening and absorbs that into the memory of the song and it ingratiates that in your memory. So all the memories that you have playing during the time for everything, it captures the moment so perfectly. That's why a lot of the times when I really want to remember a moment and attach it to a song, like I've done this multiple times, like there's certain songs that I don't play anymore.
Oh wow.
Just because if I want to listen to or remember a certain time, I just play that one specific song and I just remember that moment. So I'm nostalgic in pieces. But yeah,
That's dope.
Mm.
So
a photo can't do that. A photo could just show you a somewhat agenda objective type of view of what you allow to be in the frame. Rather, music captures the sadness, the happiness, whatever you're feeling in that moment, and just snapshots it. And then you play it again, and then you re-snapshot it. So it's an amalgamation of kind of how you remember things. It's just like when you remember something, you never remember it exactly and as accurately as it happened. And I feel like, sometimes that's for the best.
Yeah,
yeah.
it's true. Yeah.
So hot take, Christian says that photographs are soulless. No, I get what you're saying though. That's interesting. I don't know, man. I've there's like certain photographs, so like especially like with people that pass that I look at, and it's like, oh shit, like it's like this used to look like that. I used to look like that. Like I don't know, but yeah, I think music does do something different to you for sure.
Yeah, like do you remember a song that you played like in relation to I know my great grandpa, he passed away. But I remember a song that he used to always play like in his house, and like whenever that song, it was a Spanish song. Whenever that song plays, I'm like, oh yeah, that's something that he was just like listen to.
Yeah,
Or like my mom's cooking, like whether it be like the smell or the sound of just like suave dun 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 suave, I'll be like, yep, it's cleaning time, or it's time to have some dinner. And like a picture of us just like having dinner is like nice, but you don't get the feeling of it. It's like kind of like when you take a photo, there's a disconnect in the nostalgia.
I think, and this may be in part due to the age difference, because I grew up when photos weren't as ubiquitous, they weren't as easy to get. I think a big part of that is
Yeah, that's true.
how photography is treated these days because photos are everywhere, especially with like
Yes.
Instagram, Facebook. Like that's part of it.
But they're so beautiful now.
They are. They are. They've gotten essential. Well, in some ways, they've gotten better. But I mean, they're just everywhere. So I think we become desensitized to what the photo means.
Yeah.
I think. But I mean, it is what it is.
That
But
should be our next episode.
yes. Shit. Back to your. Were you finished?
As far as nostalgia, yeah. As far as like music and photography in terms of nostalgia, but I find it awesome that we tend to have nostalgia through other means. So like just you have a photograph, you have music, and a lot of it comes to consumerism.
Yeah.
And I wanted to see before we like
True.
talk about like the conclusion of our episode, like how currently like a lot of like things in terms of like media, like we said, Stranger Things, in terms of like consumerism and everything, how that kind of calls like
Even-
callbacks and everything, and even like Harry Potter is like wow,
Yeah. Even
Yeah.
like vintage clothing.
vintage
I think
clothing,
about-
thrift shops type of stuff.
It's interesting
And-
with clothing trends how shit just comes back.
Yeah, like Y2K is a thing, and it's
Yeah.
just like the window of nostalgia, because there's only so many nostalgia eras. I mean, you can only be. I'm not gonna be nostalgic for medieval
20.
times.
Chain link, you never know.
Hey,
Like the
if I pull up
metal
in the
helmet.
chain meal, what?
Yo,
Yeah.
you
Make a
could-
meal in my chain meal? What? Come on. Oh.
I was gonna say like you could visit wordplay the space medieval times as a kid and become nostalgic for that.
I do like medieval times. It was an amazing.
I was supposed to take
There's
my
medieval
niece
times
there.
in New York.
No, I went down in Florida when I went to go.
Oh,
visit.
There's
okay.
there's one in Dallas.
There
I was
is.
I was supposed to take my niece there. I was just thinking about
wonder
that.
if
We
that is
always
still
made
going.
plans to go.
We should know.
Next time I'm in Austin.
We need to go to an exhibit for a podcast. And let's come here.
Yo,
Medieval times.
we can carry the we need to find some portable mics and have like
Yeah.
on the scene show.
I can't
On
wait
the
for the
scene.
summer.
Uh, but-
As recording, we're recording in the beginnings of summertime. So
That we are.
yes,
Yeah.
it's very exciting.
So wait, what was the question again?
Yes. So what is nostalgia's relationship to our culture of consumerism?
Okay.
But this is very United States centric because we
Okay.
live here.
Did you want to kick this one off, Lucas?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just like because nostalgia in its own is kind of a conduit to make some bread if you're out for that endeavor. I mean, whether it be like a reissue of an album, or again vintage clothing, or to see the Backstreet Boys back on tour,
Yeah.
or whatever it is. I mean, I think that it's just a good avenue to generate some money if that's what your endeavor is. That's about it.
What do you think, Trent?
I think it's always been part of the culture. It's just, I don't know, I'm entering a weird phase of my life where I'm seeing things like that I grew up with become like old school now. Like that's so weird to me.
Yeah.
True.
But I mean that then becomes a market for people like me who may be dissatisfied with, the current state of music or movies or whatever the genre may be. It's definitely big business. There's so many, remakes, re-releases, repurposes. People even tend to bring back products that weren't successful
Yeah.
in their original form.
Szechuan sauce.
Szechuan sauce. I was thinking about that too. And
That was so funny. I really wanted to go get that. I really ran
is
to
that?
McDonald's. So Rick and Morty had an episode, and they called back to like a Mulan Szechuan sauce that came with the movie release.
very obscure.
And people
Very.
were fighting each other. Like, and we have to have an episode.
Wait,
on
so
that.
it was like a McDonald's issued sauce?
Yeah, like it
Yes.
was a specific
Limited to the movie
promotion
release.
Oh my
for
God, I
the
can see
original Mulan, the animated 2D animated
Great
movie.
film.
Yeah.
But yeah, they like things like that. Like people can bring in, or they can add a song in with a commercial to kind of make you go, I remember that song, and it doesn't have to have anything to do with it. I think the idea of nostalgia has kind consumerism. It's kind of taken over a lot, and I'm specifically thinking about movies because that's like my favorite.
Yeah,
One of my favorite.
that's why I said it's
mediums.
the culture. Of
But I mean, like, because so many things now is all right. So you're gonna come out with a movie. What is it based on? Is it based on a book? Is it part of a franchise? Was it a comic book at one point? Was it an older movie? You know, and a lot of times it's hard to come out. When it comes to movies, it's hard to get a big budgeted IP.
Yeah, big budget new movie.
Fucking
Yeah,
that's one of the things that was special about The Black Phone. As far as I know, it wasn't based on anything. As a matter of fact, the writer of The Black Phone was actually part of the original. Well, not even the original, because they've had different iterations. But the people from Austin that I follow, the podcast, like the writer of that, he was part of their. At one point, he was part
Really?
of that group
For Double
yeah.
Toasted?
Shout
yeah,
out to
he was part
writers.
of
Okay.
Double Toasted. Shout out to
Aren't
Double
they on
Toasted
strike right
and
now?
writers.
Yeah, they are on strike. That's why I wanted to mention it. You know, writers deserve to get paid what they need to get paid.
Facts, and they shouldn't be replaced by AI as
Yeah.
well. That's
Ooh.
part of their.
That's part of the
their
thing.
demands.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
headed down if AI is taking over.
But shit, by the time this is published, it may be over. But who knows?
Yeah,
Yeah,
but the screenplay pipeline in terms of writers and everything to get original ideas out is so difficult. Yeah, I don't want to talk about it.
I
now,
guess
but
it's just
yeah,
those like banking and funding all of these pictures just want a
the biggest bang for the
accountable
buck.
racehorse that they
Yeah.
can know will take them to the top.
But I mean, nostalgia is a feeling that everyone feels, like we
Yeah.
said, and I feel like a lot of times it's kind of used. I won't say exploited because sometimes people
It's
really
a little exploited.
Yeah.
it's exploited, but I feel like people do like, the callbacks and references.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to lead the discussion until like we spoke about time and nostalgia, because I feel like nostalgia is our like natural instinct to combating the feeling like time is wasting, and or like time of time past, and taking account time in general and our relationship to it.
Yes, sir.
I can see that. Yeah, that's funny though that you said because I was kind of trying to balance my argument because I felt like a lot of it was against the current I guess the current wave of consumerism, and it is because
Yeah,
it can be a good thing too. It creates, because it's not necessarily new to this this era, because I mean plenty of rock bands have been touring, singing the same shit since they've been doing since the 60s or the 70s.
Yeah.
And now we're just getting into a point where I'm starting to see like rappers tour off their first, their most popular albums.
Isn't
which
Drake
is
doing
cool.
that right now? It was all a Blur tour. Or
For who?
Drake.
I don't even know if it's on tour. I like when artists do tours like that, like those other tours. I'm not sure about Drake though, but I
Yeah,
remember
think
when
he's doing that one.
I saw Kendrick for it was my first concert ever. It was one of the best things.
Oh wow.
That I'm very nostalgic for.
Hey.
Funny enough, I couldn't get anyone to come with me because it was for
I
my
would have
birthday.
went to a Kendrick concert
Yeah.
with you, homie.
Yeah, it was at Madison Square Garden. It was his first time performing at Madison.
Oh wow. That's
and-
pretty epic.
Yeah, so my aunt ended up going, and she didn't know a lick of Kendrick, but she just was like so excited, and I knew every word. And yeah, that's
What year was this?
I think it was 2018, 20. I had to be like junior year,
Okay.
I think. Yeah, it was 2018. But for this, the reason why I brought it up was that he played all of his. He didn't have an album released in that year, so he just played like his hits and like songs that he wanted. Like he curated his set list from across eras of his career and discography, which in part was very nostalgic in itself, because like having a set list from like, because artists tend to do this all the time. Like I went to an Earth Gang concert, and they were like, "Oh yeah, if you guys like stuck with us from the beginning, this is something that you knew, like a mixtape thing." So artists do like artists tend to like have nostalgic towards their own work too.
Yeah.
Certainly, yeah. Their own
And-
roots.
Yo, shout out to your aunt for going to the concert and
Yes.
supporting
Yeah,
you
that's
and not
fucking
being
dope.
a Kendrick fan. That's so
What?
dope.
She loved it. She was just like, wow. And we saw, and it was amazing because it was the whole label. We saw Sir, we saw Schoolboy Q, we saw J Rock, we saw SZA, we saw Isaiah Rashad. Shout out Isaiah Rashad.
Shout out to Isaiah
I love all of them.
Yo.
But that was probably like one of the best first concert ever. And it was just like, wow, I can't even beat this experience. The only concert that I've been to, I've been to a couple other concerts. I went to SZA's concert recently.
Yeah.
That was amazing. That was a beautiful one. It's amazing to see her headline something that she was just a side of from 2018.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Tyler the Creator, every time he's at Madison Square Garden, an event, beautiful. Inspiration, inspires other people to change their stuff. Culture shifter, beautiful.
Nice.
But those creating moments like that allows for people to have nostalgia too. So I feel like whether it's writers, artists, they have to combat a lot of like the remake tendency and everything, but they themselves can create moments that are present and then create something that can be an avenue for nostalgia for someone else as like something that makes them present within the time. So nostalgia is a double-edged sword for me, I think.
Agreed. Yeah, I'm just so happy that you're on with you. That's such a dope core memory. I'm sorry, I'm still stuck on that.
Right?
No, that is sick.
But no, like artists touring and revisiting things, that also allows people to experience something that they may have missed the first time around because, you know,
Yeah.
what for whatever reason they were too young or maybe they were broke or they just weren't aware of it too. I mean, so yeah, it's
For
like you
fulfillment.
said. Yeah, what's up?
It's for fulfillment.
Yeah.
It's basically hitting all the things. It's basically making you. I feel like nostalgia serves as a tool to combat time. Whether you're like nostalgic for an old band and then you come back and you're just like, oh yeah, like I have to visit this band because I wasn't able to in the past to create closure and a meaning. So like I can say I did this and I used my time effectively.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Well, gentlemen,
Beautiful.
closing thoughts.
Closing thoughts.
If anybody gets that reference, that would be so funny to hear in the audience. The beautiful.
Beautiful.
Closing thoughts. I mean, I don't think nostalgia is going anywhere. I think it's something that's just like you said. It's a natural part of the human experience. So I think people are going to automatically flock towards it. I think, and maybe this will happen with when the writer strike ends. Maybe there will be more push for original thoughts and ideas. I would just love to see, as far as like media is concerned, a balance, you know, because there's a point where I'm like, you know, even though something is quote unquote new, like I have no, or something that I loved.
We love the city.
Yo, shouts out to the city. I have, like, I'm at the point where, like, if I've seen it before, I really don't have any, regardless of how exciting the trailer may look, I don't really have any urge to see it. Like, I was like, I'm gonna sit this one out, you know. So hopefully this will, and that's not to say that there aren't original ideas out there. Please seek out independent movies and go and support those. And,
Yes, definitely.
you know.
There's a lot.
Huge.
There's a
Yeah.
market. If you seek it out, there's so much there, and a lot of it is very, very beautiful and sentimental and touching.
But no, nostalgia is here to stay.
That it
As
is.
far as like consumerism and, you know, in my life, I enjoy nostalgia. I enjoy looking back on those things and experiencing those feelings, even if it's not exactly how it was when I first experienced them. I think that, you know, I think I'm pretty good at balancing out the good and the bad in that. So it's here to stay for me too.
Yeah, for me, I think that it's a great reference point for reflection and seeing how far you've come as to where you're going and where you're currently at. And I think it's it's almost like a healthy exercise when, you know, followed and measured appropriately. But don't forget to be present. Don't forget to you know, look around what's going on. I think I thought of something a while ago where it's just like we're kind of living in a memory, you know. This will all just be a memory at one point in time, and you know, one that I'm quite sure we'll look back on fondly. So, pay attention to the present, but be thankful for the past.
Yeah, sometimes don't take out your phone and take out pictures.
Facts.
Yeah, just let
Get
them
off
know it.
Instagram.
I'm gonna say what's on my head. I know y'all
Go
were
ahead,
looking
go
at me
ahead.
like, what the fuck is he thinking?
Like, what's going
go
on over
ahead,
there?
go ahead and say.
No, go ahead. Say it first. Say it
Let's hear
first.
it.
No, it's gonna be part of my thank yous.
Oh, that's
I'm
what it-
gonna connect
Lovely.
it to that.
Oh, great. My closing thoughts on nostalgia. I just appreciate that I've been able and afforded the chances to see a lot in the world in my currently 21 going on 22 years of life. And I'm very nostalgic for this present moment because I'm gonna enjoy this listening to this in the future.
Whoop,
But yeah, I feel like the sentiment that was touched on, everything, everywhere, all at once. We mentioned it. What was the other episode? The Twilight episode, Twilight Zone episode. Yeah, with the belts.
Oh,
Yeah. But that movie's takeaway is that it's kind of like the general kind of consensus now, that like time is kind of just running concurrently. So like past, future, present exist all at once. And to kind of combat nostalgia, the nostalgia is like worst effects because like we said, we appreciate nostalgia. I would say our ability to see that the past, the present, and the future are all happening at the same time allows you to just be grateful for just being a part of the tapestry of everything. So then everything becomes nostalgic, and then you just are so present in life. And that's my closing.
Oh wow!
I like
My
that.
closing thought was so weak. I'll start off with my thank yous. First, I want to send an apology to Ja Rule. No shade, Ja Rule. I don't want beef.
Yeah, man, I'm sorry.
It was just a
Ja Rule.
dream, sir.
It was just a dream.
But
I
if you
used to
do run
speak-
up on me,
Oh,
I will take off my belt.
no. That's gonna get clipped out of context.
I'm not. And he's short too. I'm not going to see him coming. Damn.
Oh man.
No.
I'm not gonna see him.
Thank you to Susan Sontag. I actually did listen to those episodes.
Yes.
They were really
I'm gonna
informing.
listen.
It was really good. I want to re-listen to them because I remember hearing Susan Sontag's name.
I want to talk about her specifically because I think she's worth an episode.
She is.
She's
She
worth an
is.
episode. As a current in current times, it spoke so much to me that it was just like, wow. I listened to it like at least 4 times already. All 3 of them. And mind you, the 30-minute podcast. So like I spent however, do the math and then just comment below or something.
Yeah. No, it's those were good episodes. Thank yous to all the I want to specifically because I'm getting nostalgic about my college time. Thank you all the people that befriended me during college. Those were some lonely times for me.
Yeah.
Thank you to the family that took me in, the Gundersons. I lived with them throughout the tail end of my college career, and they became like a second family to me, and I love them so much. And I got to see them last time I went to Texas.
Hey, nostalgia.
And also, thank you to my cousins and my brother and my aunts. When I was filling up my backpack, I actually, speaking of nostalgia, pulled out some old pictures that I forgot I put in my backpack.
Whoa.
It's like, oh wait, I'll show you guys real quick.
Hey, intentional rustling.
Yeah, that I pulled out, and I'm like, damn, that was so long ago. But yeah, those are my thank yous. I'm gonna find these pictures while y'all are doing y'all's thank yous.
Hey,
Hey.
thank you to all the good times. Thank you to all the bad times. Thank you for the present. I'm happy to be here. Contrary to her name, I'm supposed to be here.
Yeah, as a-
Cristiano, you sir.
just thankful for everyone that makes me smile, whether past, future, present tense. I've been doing a lot more lately, so
Whoa.
we see the photos. Hold up.
Trent just
Had to-
whipped out the pic.
Speak- Speaking of
interrupt the thank
nostalgia.
yous.
Wow, I can
That's
see you
A
immediately.
young Trent. That was like,
Is that your
maybe
brother, top
8th
middle?
grade.
Yeah.
Let me see where he
Oh
is.
my gosh.
My brother's the one who looks like a thug, who's got the
Baby, 'cause I'm a
top
thug.
middle. That's him.
I'm loving this. This is amazing. See, Maybe my
day,
argument
every
against
day.
music and photos is
Yeah,
like,
I
it's
get I know that railing so well. That was my
Yeah?
aunt's house. She
Yeah.
stayed. Speaking of nostalgia, she stayed right next to the railroad tracks, and at night when the train would pass, stuff on the counter would shake. But I love that house so
Wow.
much.
That's
That
so
apartment so much.
Is
it's
it
funny
still
that
there?
you pose the same.
So many. Yeah.
And this photo,
the more
Trent is,
things
like,
change,
picking at his
the
nose.
more they stay the same.
Is that apartment building still there?
I think so. It's been so many years. Like
Wow.
that was what 1999, maybe 2000,
99.
99 to 2000. I'm sorry though. You had thank yous.
Yeah,
Wait.
no. Thank you for showing that. That was
Yeah.
that was awesome.
Sick.
Thank you to scientists that challenge what it means to exist in time. The artists that do the same with nostalgia, and everyone that tries to really attack the question of feeling like I'm not supposed to be here. Yeah, I've just been feeling really, really grateful for everything.
Shout
Lovely.
out to Peaceful Practices.
Yes, people.
Peaceful practices, yeah. That's a big
yes.
thank you.
All right, that's our episode.
Wait,
Thank you.
we have to do one final applause for the
Hey,
audience.
one last one for Wilhelm. He's gonna take us out. Thank you guys.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.
That has been
Big
our
love.
episode. It's been an amazingly loud audience. Peace.